Welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about an essential skill that people don't use as much as they should.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication.
So, how you doing, Kyle?
Fantastic. Good to hear from you again today, Pritch.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Interested in how you're going to bring some truth to people today.
Well, I think it's some folks will go, oh, yeah. Some folks will go, duh. But I hope that folks will pay attention, because the essential skill I'm talking about that we don't use nearly enough is listening.
For sure. Absolutely.
On an interpersonal level, we're very busy trying to formulate our response. We're not really listening completely to the people that we're relating with, and in the process, we miss a heck of a lot.
For sure.
So on the interpersonal level, we need to be more engaged in actively listening.
Communication is a two-way process.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And then on the organizational level, and this is what I really want to dig into, as a business strategy, as a public relations strategy, as a communication strategy, listening gives you a great deal of advantages, particularly in the planning process.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that definitely businesses do not take enough advantage of today.
That's exactly right. And, as outside consultants, it's our business to listen. That's
right.
How we get started. But in your organization, establishing a culture of listening gives you, I just read a paper from a scholar colleague, and she pointed out that there are really 6 big advantages to listening in the workplace, establishing a culture of listening in the workplace.
Okay.
Obviously, the first one is fostering relationships.
Certainly.
I mean, within the company, the better companies, the best companies, the ones that are doing excellent public relations, marketing, communications, are those that are fostering relationships between individuals in the organization.
That's how human beings work the best.
You bet. Thinking, listening first, and talking second.
Yes.
Helps foster those relationships.
You know what they say, 2 ears, 1 mouth, there's a reason.
That's exactly right. The second one that this scholar pointed out is staying ahead of trends.
Sure.
And you mentioned before we came on that social listening is available today.
I'm a huge proponent of social listening. Too many people are using social media as megaphones, as one-way conversations, as putting information out there. Now, granted, we've gotten better at going from straight sales pitches to telling our story and communicating our why and things like that, but there's still a lot of one-way communication. Listening to other people, looking for opportunities, making connections, collaborations, and especially the ones that are unexpected or that wasn't the thing you were pursuing, but something popped up and you just listened and reacted, and you create collaboration right there on the fly. Sometimes they're really small, but they can lead to really big things.
And internally, listening to the frontline folks,
Absolutely.
The customer service representatives.
The boots on the ground.
They're going to help you identify and understand those trends so that you can stay ahead of them.
For sure.
So that's the second major advantage.
Also, it's a caveat to listening to your internal employees. Not only are they giving you information about what's happening on the daily and what the real world solution is, right? But you create relationships internally with them, and you create value in them, keeping them as employees and happy employees because you do listen to them.
Absolutely. And they'll tell you what their pain points are.
Sure.
And that makes the organization better. So staying ahead of trends is number 2. In the strategic planning process, listening is absolutely critical.
For sure.
Whether you're like us as a consultant trying to put together the strategic plan, or you're an agency, you're listening to clients, it really helps you.
Even if you're the marketing director, VP of marketing, the CMO, right? It goes back to like learning from the boots on the ground and your employees who are actually interacting with clients, dealers, distributors, et cetera, right, too. But it also is the best strategy comes from the most amount of information.
Absolutely.
The worst strategy comes from the most narrow bit of information, right? So how do you get all that information? You listen when people tell you.
Yeah. And that feeds into number 4, which is respectful and diversity-centered
Yes.
conversations.
Absolutely.
We talked an awful lot about diversity. One of the easiest ways to fix that is to listen.
Yes.
Listen to a multitude of ideas.
And when you think that you have the only answer, when you
Danger.
stop and listen, you figure out
Danger.
that you don't.
Exactly.
And there's 1,000 ways to do things right and 1,000 ways to do things wrong. So there's no monopoly on truth 99% of the time.
Exactly
And occasionally
so.
there is. There are black and white issues. But when it comes to running business, creating collaborations, relationships, etc., professionally and otherwise, there's no singular path.
Right.
So listening opens you up to all of the avenues that you might take. And typically it's a collaboration of multiple ways of getting to the same place.
There was an example that I was thinking of from the Red Teaming book by Bryce Hoffman. They were stress testing the assumptions in an operational plan. They had a bunch of ambassadors and generals, and they had a major in the group. And the way they did it, all 3 of the ideas that were ultimately adopted came from the major and none from the ambassadors and the generals. So a great example of how listening, and diversity is, as we've talked about, it's not just race, it's not just gender,
Nope.
It's diversity of ideas.
And thoughts, backgrounds, point of view.
Yep.
It's all of these different things, again, where everyone starts down the same path, but they come at it from different ways.
Absolutely.
Because there's no set, singular way of doing anything.
Absolutely. The 5th advantage that the scholar pointed out was excellent client experiences. We're fostering relationships within our organization. Mm-hmm. If you're listening and paying attention to what the client's pain points, needs, and whatnot, the experience for them is going to be a heck of a lot better because you've listened.
Plus, you have to go deeper because the client, of course, when you're an agency or consultant, the client, I need more money, I want more sales, more success, right? But typically what they're not saying is, I need more money. What they are needing are a better focus on the right audience, right, or more efficiency or effectiveness. It's really digging down into what the actual things that are happening in their business that are keeping them from the huge goals are easy. Everyone wants to make more money in business.
Right.
Everyone wants to sell more widgets. We get that. How you do it comes from figuring out where they are finding real success and where they're not, and what the roadblocks are between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one, and this is the duh moment, but as you listen to your clients, to your people internal to the organization, you're building trust.
Right.
People trust people who listen to them and understand what their needs are.
Human nature.
But we miss it all the time.
We appreciate being taken serious, especially as professionals, and to be engaged, not just told what to do. People don't do their best work when they're forced to do something, but are more likely to do much better work when they're part of a process.
Absolutely. And from Kouzes and Posner, my favorite leadership people,
right.
People follow people that they trust.
Yes.
People that they know are listening and have their best
people
interest
do
at heart.
business with people.
Yep.
You don't do business with another business. You do business with the people who run it, that manage it, that engage you when you walk in the front door, etc. And communication, two-way, valid conversation, communication creates a trust factor that wants you to do business with someone, whether it's a simple transaction of buying something across a counter or engaging in a relationship like the type of business that we do.
That's exactly right. So there you go. From today's headlines, a scholarly suggestion,
right.
6 benefits to using a skill that we have the capacity to use, but that one that we don't use very often, and that's listening.
That's for sure. I agree with you 100%. I hope people really listen to all 6 and go back. Take these ideas. Whoever listened to this podcast just now, you're the boss, you're the manager, you're the low-level employee. It doesn't matter. Take these ideas back. Look at the notes below here, the show, right? And take these ideas back. Start conversations in your company, whether you're at the bottom starting them up or at the top starting them down. And once you start those conversations, what do?
you listen.
You listen.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I thought that was a trick question for a
No,
minute.
it's the exact right question, which is bring these ideas back, start a conversation, and listen. So if you're someone trying to work your way up the chain,
Right.
find ways for people to listen to you
Right.
and listen to them, because you got to provide for them what they need from you. And if you're at the top of the chain and you're trying to get everyone in your chain of command to do their best work, open up the dialogue by having this conversation and then listen to engage them to do their best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there you go. That's it from the Golden Group. Until next time, ciao.
We will see you again. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button on iTunes, on Spreaker, on Spotify, and YouTube. We appreciate you guys each and every week. Good luck.